Welcome to the podcast. On today's show with Lex from Koa Life. Thanks for joining. For
Thank
people who
you.
don't know,
Yeah.
what does your company do?
So I'm one of the co-founders of Koa Life. My co-founder is actually my identical twin sister, Kimber, who's not here today. But Koa Life is really a beauty platform. So we treat the root cause of skin issues and the root cause of any body issues like weight management as women age. So we help them kind of thrive, not just survive aging.
I love that. Thrive, not survive aging.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what made you want to, of all the things you could be doing in your life, of all the wonderful different things, why was this problem the one that was either personal to you or something that you really wanted to figure out?
I mean, there's nothing more personal than kind of dealing with the hurdles of aging as a woman. 100% of women go through these fluctuations in hormones and just shifts in their health and their body and their skin as they age. And I'm 41 today, and my skin and my body, yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. My skin, well, not today. Actually,
As of right
today,
now.
but as of right now, I'm actually almost 42. I'm 42 in March. So
Okay.
this has been the best few years of my life from these protocols that I've developed with my company. But to kind of get to the root of how Koa Life was born, I kind of have to rewind a little and go back to the start, the path of how I got here. So I grew up in Canada. Vancouver, Canada. Was an athlete growing up, a competitive athlete. And so I was just absolutely obsessed with optimizing the body. And then in my family, I come from a family of successful entrepreneurs. So I kind of had this duality of...
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing to watch, really inspirational.
Yeah.
But I had this duality of being an athlete and then also being super business-minded as a child, really, and then seeing my parents and wanting to follow in their footsteps. So I had the athletic side, had that duality of really wanting to go into business and starting my own vision and doing things my own way. And I moved to Los Angeles when I was about 19 and went to Pepperdine, graduated with top honors, and started my own company a few months out of school. So super driven and ambitious.
Yeah.
The first company was called NAVEN, and we grossed it to doing 8 figures, did really well.
What was the company?
It's an apparel company.
Okay.
So we made celebrity red carpet apparel. So a lot of matching sets and dresses, anything you would see at a movie premiere, dress the Kardashians, all the A-list girls like J-Lo, Jessica Alba. It was really when that time in the fashion industry in LA was really booming, and you had a lot of live events. It was a really, really fun time. But we had 40 employees. I was so busy in my 20s, kind of like burning the candle at both ends, as you will, being at events all night and then up super early managing this huge team. And there came a point when finally I kind of hit what I call burnout. And I couldn't really do it anymore. In my 20s I could, my 30s I couldn't. So my body started to take a toll. So burnout really is the stress that you're accumulating, really putting your sleep quality on the back burner, not really taking care of yourself, just taking your health for granted. And so my skin started to break out, and I started to feel a lot of inflammation in my body. And being an entrepreneur myself and always doing a lot of research into the science behind brands, I was looking for a solution. And I saw every doctor, tried every single skincare product, and at the time there wasn't really clean beauty. It was really the beginning of that industry.
What year was that?
I was 35, so it was probably about
18, 17?
a while ago. Before there was a ton of natural products that were readily available in the market. So my sister and I, being entrepreneurs and kind of overachievers, we wanted to create a skincare product that was super supportive and clean to the body. So my family's actually in Canada. They're in medical skincare. So we worked with their labs and started a new company here in the US, and it quickly really grew and took on, and we ended up getting these amazing testimonials from women. We healed our skin, we healed their skin. I think we've shipped to about 600,000 customers now with the topical products, and started getting a lot of traction really quickly. And so that's how it kind of began, is our problem became the solution for other women, and started with skincare. And now we're evolving into this virtual clinic that really treats the root cause and not just the topical symptoms of skin issues and then other issues related to
Are you guys
aging.
like creating science in that world? Or is it like, because there's so much noise out there, at least from my perspective of it. We've interviewed obviously some companies that are in the skincare world, and it's everyone has a different take. Everyone I think is affected differently. Some people understand hormones, some people don't really talk about it. People think it's all topical. And there's like the Korean, I've learned like the Korean version of it, where it's like everything is released through your skin. And so it's like there's just a different view of beauty, I guess. And it's more of a reflection of like inner peace as opposed to glam, let's call it. Let's go back to NAVEN for a second. What happened with that company?
So we still have NAVEN. We sell e-commerce. And I can dive a little deeper into NAVEN. It was such a fun time for
Yeah.
apparel.
Yeah.
We launched 2007, so
Okay.
literally basically straight out of school. Our first company, my sister and I.
That's when the iPhone was coming out. The
Right.
App Store was brand
There was
new.
no Instagram.
That's
so
right.
this was before social media. So
Yeah.
everything we did was in-person meetings with buyers at trade shows,
Yeah.
which is the best MBA basically you can get in business, is learning relationships. And so everything we did
That's
to build
right.
our company, and we ended up selling to about 500 stores, is through relationships, one-on-one, being a salesperson at all times,
Mm-hmm.
building organic communities and organic funnels to really create a buzz around your brand. And so we ended up doing our brand for NAVEN, our Halo brand, for about 7 years. And then we scaled super, super quickly. As I mentioned, we had 40 employees. We did everything in-house. We had our own manufacturers in downtown Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
And we got to a point where we were becoming so big that we had to outsource to China to manufacture
Yeah.
the bulk of our apparel. It just wasn't economical anymore to do it in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, we had to pause all of our orders and our sales for an entire season. And when you're making millions of dollars, that can be devastating to a business.
Sure.
So I think entrepreneurship in general, like one of the advice I always give to entrepreneurs is when you think a door is closing or something's like a mistake or a hurdle, look at it as an opportunity to open another door and to up level and optimize what you're doing, right? Because you have to be a creative problem solver. So in that moment, we had been selling to Revolve clothing. We were
Okay.
one of their top brands. Revolve is now I think valued at about $2 billion.
they're
They're
huge.
absolutely crushing it. They have
Yeah.
a great team. But we were one of their top brands at the time, selling NAVEN to their retail e-commerce site. And so they came to us and said, you know, guys, you guys are making us a lot of revenue. We can't afford to take a season off from selling NAVEN. Would you be open to being one of our house brands? So as one door kind of closed in a sense, another door opened, and we ended up doing a capsule collaboration with them that lasted, I think, 6 years selling on their site. It was supposed to be a year contract.
Wow.
It absolutely crushed. We did so well. It was the best thing that ever happened to us personally for our career and also for our business.
Yeah.
And so we still had NAVEN, but then we did this amazing capsule collection, and I think we got 100 million impressions our first launch season, and
That's so crazy.
just did phenomenal with it, and it was the funnest
Yeah.
kind of chunk of our career ever. But then COVID happened, and during COVID, you know, they had to stop a lot of their house brands, and everything kind of shifted and paused. And we were working on, we had another company at the time too, which I still have. It's a marketing company. And then we were working on this wellness company kind of on the side. And when
Okay.
COVID happened, we figured, you know, we've evolved as women. I love fashion, but we kind of got burnt out doing it for 14 years. I love this marketing company, but our true really passion and alignment is in wellness. You know, we started getting older. We started dealing with these issues. We're like, we want to help women. We really want to be mission led. And I say we, it's me and my twin sister
Yeah.
who co-founded all our companies together. So we scaled back NAVEN slightly because Revolve wasn't really sure where they were going, and we weren't sure where the apparel market was going, and we focused all of our attention on Koa Life. And it's interesting, we launched officially to market April 2020, which was a week before lockdown, before COVID. So we really didn't know where the industry was going, but we went for it, and we ended up getting into working with Target and Macy's, CVS stores, Ipsy, BoxyCharm, all the good retailers, and we've just been scaling and pushing ever since.
That's wild.
Yeah.
But my first company was a fashion company. We had bow ties, and it started off as a joke. It was basically, not really a joke, but basically what happened. So it's 2008-9, the iPhone comes out, and the App Store launches, and no one knows what the App Store is going to be. And so the idea, like, people understood it'd be games, you know, like shortcuts, but like how were brands going to interact with an app? What would that look like? And so I saw a guy at Barney's taking pictures of ties on a BlackBerry, which at the time had like a 3.2 megapixel camera. And I went over to him and I'm like, why are you doing that? And he said, well, ties are cheaper than shirts. And so I'm going to go home with these photos. I'm going to put my phone essentially on the shirt, and I'll come back and I'll buy the tie. I'm like, oh, it's really interesting. And he's like, yeah, I'll ask my wife, you know, she'll give me the input and I'll just do that. And I go, okay. And so then the idea was like, well, can we take a high res photo and just load it on an app and then almost give you a try before you buy option, but from an app? And the bow tie just happened to be the size of the iPhone screen, almost perfectly. And so we launched an app, like just an app that literally try before you buy of bow ties. And it was really easy at the time to launch an app on the App Store. because it was brand new. And so when we launched the app, we got all this press. It was like fashion meets, technology, blah, blah, blah. Like we were in Brides magazine, which for us was wild. Like our plan was never to be a fashion company. Our plan was more so to develop like an app company. And then we reached out to brands like Tiffany's being like, oh, look, and they were already on it. Of course, they were every brand, big brand was already on it. They were trying to figure it out, but they were on it. And so we were late to that party, but then people wanted to buy the bow ties. And then, so accidentally we ended up in like this fashion business.
Wow. What happened to that business?
We ended up selling it.
Wow.
The weird thing, I remember we were in the process of selling it and we were speaking to the buyer and they asked us, how many orders do you guys take over the phone? And we're like, what? They're like, yeah. Like how many people do you have on staff just answering phones and taking orders? And we're like, how many do you guys have? And they're like, there's about 120 here.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I think this just got more expensive for you. I was like, we don't even have a phone. They're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, everything is online. And so it was just like if you'll remember this, because in 2007, it was a changing landscape for sure. And so there was all these legacy companies that e-commerce, it didn't make any sense to them. They didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And so, it became really interesting. And so it was almost like an automated plug and play for them at that point as a business. Yeah. No extra employees, nothing.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I mean, that's the model for so many entrepreneurs now is being as flexible as possible. And you were kind of disrupting something at the time. I remember talking about e-commerce with any retailer, or we sold at Neiman's and Saks, they didn't get it. And even still to this day, their systems are pretty outdated. They still work in an old school kind of way. But I love that. You saw a void in the market and you went for it, and and it worked. That's
but it was fun. I'm sure for you too, like being in your 20s, I was a single guy. And so it was like, I went to school for civil engineering. And so the pickup line, when someone would be like, a girl would say, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a civil engineer. Like that didn't land. But telling them I had a bow tie company landed. And so it was a better pickup line is sort of what I tell people. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. We did like a lot of, the fashion world is so fun. We were invited to like Fashion Week. I don't even know why, but we were invited to these things. And it was a really good time. And everyone was so fun.
Yeah, I love that. One of those moments where you're like, how did I get here? But I love it.
Yeah. And then after that, I had a tech company. But to your point around burnout, like I think for me, the burnout happened between probably 28 and 30. That's when it's like, I just realized like, oh, I've been abusing my body for 8 to 10 years, like taking everything for granted. Yeah. And then you just have this, like, it's almost like you enter a new season of life. Yeah. And so this is almost like another season for you too.
For sure. I mean, did you find that you were working out and eating clean, or just kind of putting all of that on the back burner?
So when we started a tech company, there was 3 of us in a 1-bedroom apartment, no furniture, just like mattresses on floors. And we had like no money, like we were paying ourselves like maybe $2,000 a month, like just nothing. And so we'd just go to Costco and just buy whatever we could. And so all the food was it was boring and it wasn't great. It was probably pretty processed. And we were just sitting all day. Like we'd get up at 6, start working at like 7. Our coder would sleep until 9. And then we'd probably go to bed like at 8 or 9. And we'd all run as a team. So we'd do like 3-mile runs as a team. But that was it. And so it was terrible, to be honest. Yeah.
One of the things that I love that biohacking is becoming so prevalent and popular now is there's so many modalities you can do that are free, like breath work and even sun gazing in the morning, things that really help. But we didn't really know about that back in the day. And honestly, that's how I experienced burnout, is being a professional competitive athlete when I was younger. They taught you to push yourself. So I was so good at having stamina and pushing myself and staying up late and working out and just like really pushing my body. But they didn't teach me about recovery. And they do now. Now we know that a mindful practice, recovery, sleep quality, having space to be intentional and slow down, that is as important as actually exercising and doing all those other modalities. But they didn't teach us that back in the day. So I was sort of like this Viking workhorse that could just like go, 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 go. But there comes a point when your body is like, okay, I need to rest, I need to stop. And so I hit that point, I think, at about 35, and everything started to kind of fall apart in a way.
Yeah, I think I'm doing that now. Like I'm starting to like meditate.
Oh, good. I thought you meant fall apart. I'm like, I hope not.
I think maybe.
Yeah. So what's your daily practice?
So now I'll do this thing. I'll wake up, no phone. So my phone's probably not even in my room.
Yeah.
Actually, it's like somewhere else. It's in the living room, which is pretty far from the bedroom. And then we have like this third bedroom that's like small. And so I call it like the meditation therapy room, basically. And so I'll go in there and I'll just do breath work for whatever feels right. So whether it's like, it's usually a minimum, I never time it, but it's usually a minimum of 5 minutes. And like it could be up to 30 minutes. And I'm just in it, like with myself and just trying to, sometimes it's a body scan. Sometimes it's just like gratitude. It's kind of just like a reset.
Yeah.
You know, I think like right now we're in the process of raising a bunch of capital to open up what will be like a legendary sports bar here in LA. And there's a lot of legendary people involved in it. And that sounds really cool, but it also comes with a lot of pressure. Yeah. And so in my sleep is like the pressure comes out when I'm trying to sleep. That's like, that little motherfucker loves it, loves to
like the monkey
impact
brain
my sleep.
That doesn't
the monkey brain
allow
loves
you to,
my sleep. Yeah. And so I'll wake up and just sort of reset. And it's been really helpful.
Yeah. I love that. It's your little Zen den.
Yeah. The Zen den. That's cool. Yeah. And then after that, then I'll just start my day. So coffee, and then I'll ease into the laptop or the phone. Yeah. And it's like very rarely is it social media. I'm almost like completely off of it in some way. Like I have it, but I don't really, I've like stopped sharing my life on it a lot. Yeah. And then just getting to work. Yeah. But sometimes I've been doing this thing too, where I'll wake up at 4 a.m. now, and from 4 to 7 is like my creativity time. And so that's been really fun, actually. Yeah. Kind of wild, but super fun.
That's really interesting. For most people, that morning session is usually the analytical brain, and then the evenings after 6 is creative. So are you left-handed or right-handed?
Right-handed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it don't make any sense. It is interesting. Like I went to school for civil engineering, so there's a lot of highly analytical things there. Yeah. But I think the creativity for me is where no one's bothering me. Yes. And that just happens to be 4 to 8. Yeah. That's when 0 people are bothering me.
Yeah. I feel you. My 2025 intention is to create more space in my life for things that aren't necessarily there to make me money, like my career, or entertain people, just for me, for being thoughtful, intention, mindful practice, hobbies, things that I enjoy that inspire me.
Are you picking up a new hobby or like a new language or something?
I have so many hobbies and I speak a lot of languages, but I work out a lot. Honestly, I'm very, very spiritual. And so my spiritual practice, I went to Pepperdine, associated with Christianity when I was younger, but now I'm very spiritual. I practice Buddhism. I have an altar in my room. I go to temple, but I also do plant medicine and ceremony. So it's sort of my own adoption of everything that I've accumulated together. So creating space for me is like having time to do that, going to hopefully the Getty Villa that's still there and meditating by the lake shrine, or just going to Joshua Tree for the weekend on my own and journaling and doing a ceremony, stuff like that really grounds me back into what is my purpose of being here on earth and what's really important. How do I shed all of the junk that's sort of not serving me anymore and create this opening and space in my life for other things?
On my way to Thailand, I just read Dan Harris's book, 10% Happier. And he mentions how he got into Buddhism, but also into meditation. Yeah. It's a pretty wild story for him, because at the time it was so shunned. Like if you told people you meditated in 2010, people looked at you funny. Yeah. Like you were like a woo-woo, or like there was something wrong with you. But he's been about that life for a long time. Have you been to a retreat of some kind like that?
I have. I've been to a lot of retreats, and then I do a lot of practice on my own. I work with a lot of healers, but I have not done a Vipassana, which is a 10-day silent retreat yet. Working my way up to it. I meditate every day. It's a huge part of my life, but kind of like you, I do my own flow. So I don't like to force it. I like to have structure, but I like to be like, okay, sometimes I also play guitar. So I'll have my guitar by my altar. Sometimes I want to meditate and scan my body. Yeah. Sometimes I want to pray. Sometimes I want to play guitar. Sometimes I just want to sit in silence. Sometimes I want to call in downloads. I really feel into the moment. Yeah. Yeah.
What sports do you play now? Like what is your...
I play paddle a lot.
Oh, nice.
I'm obsessed with hot yoga. I love it. It absolutely changed my body. I think pushing my body as an athlete my whole life. When I got to my 30s, I started to feel those little tweaks of like all the aches and pains and my knees from soccer.
Yeah. Was soccer your main sport?
Soccer, golf, volleyball, horseback riding. I did vaulting, which is gymnastics on horses, and then I was a competitive swimmer. Wow. Played on the tennis team. I'm telling you, my life's been like overachiever status.
That's pretty cool.
My dad's also an ex-boxer turned really successful corporate businessman. So watching him grow up, honestly, I have like all these things that I wanted to be, which was like athlete, boss,
sure.
All of the things.
Yeah.
But now hot yoga, I strength train a lot. I go to Gold's Gym, so that's kind of a trip to see all the bodybuilders there, and then paddle a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there a court in Venice somewhere?
Yeah, right by the beach.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm mostly tennis.
Okay.
Tennis I never played growing up. Soccer was my main sport. And then I moved to LA. And it was such a beautiful place. And so I was like, I can play tennis and be outside. It's like efficient, the workout plus being outside. And I've just gotten obsessed with that over the last 7 years. Which it's mentally super good because it's like pick up something you've never touched and then try to be good at it. It's a good mental exercise.
Yeah.
All right, Koa. Sorry, we diverted.
Back to Koa. No, I love it.
Yeah, so this is all part of your new journey. And this is it.
Yeah, it is. And we officially launched to market. We launched a company 2020, but we launched to market 2021.
So during COVID.
During COVID, yes. We had our first order with Ipsy. If you're a woman, you're typically familiar. Ipsy BoxyCharm, it's a really amazing monthly subscription box, and we've been working with them since the beginning. They ordered about 300,000 units before we were really ready to launch, but it was our first product. It's actually still our bestseller. It's this cleanser, this one right here. It's a vitamin C infused cleanser that helps with dark spots and acne. Launched our first order with them, phenomenal partner, and then from there it just really, really grew. And I think we knew we were onto something when we started getting all of these organic testimonials and before and afters and emails from customers saying, I've tried everything. This is really working. And you could see the dark spots, the texture, the tone of the skin was getting better. The acne was going away. And I think that feeling for me of knowing that my products was influencing someone's happiness in a way, because for a woman, when a woman feels good in her own skin, we're emotional, not so much like men. But when we feel good in our own skin, we really approach life in a different way, with our best foot forward. When we feel good, we feel sexy, we feel vibrant, we feel full of prana and life force, and that's when we're able to really like crush life in a way. So that felt really good to me, and that was like, as an entrepreneur, I'm like, wow, this is like the warm feeling that I wanted, being mission led, doing something that's empowering women. Everything I always do in my career, in my life, is really to help women feel like they're on top. So when I started doing this deep dive, however, into skin health, because it all started around skin health in my own journey, I started discovering that skin health has so much more to do with what's going on inside the body. So topicals are so good to treat the symptoms, and you absolutely have to have good topicals to treat the symptoms and outbreaks of acne and just glow of the skin, but to treat the root cause and have actual complete care so that the issue isn't going to come back, you have to treat what's going on inside the body. The skin is just a messenger, a signal to saying there's biological disruption, essentially. So when I started working with all these amazing doctors and chemists and scientists and looking at the data and the science behind skin health, I realized that hormone fluctuation was one of the biggest things that were causing adult cystic acne, dark spots, all the things that women really dislike about aging skin, and even toxins were causing issues. So are your liver, your spleen, your kidney, are they able to process and detoxify? Are the detoxification pathways working properly? If they're not, it gets backed up and your skin detoxifies. That's why we get acne and all the junk coming out of our skin. And then the other thing was just the lack of knowledge around good health. Poor health was such an issue in the United States. I think 75% of people are overweight, and they just lack the fundamental knowledge of how do I take care of my body. So for us, this new,
so true.
New phase was so exciting, being obsessed with the body and an athlete and coming from that world. I'm like, wow, this is really my calling, is to create a virtual clinic. So we have a skin clinic and a body clinic, and help women on a deep, deep level heal their body. And yes, they're coming to us because aesthetically they want to look better, but it has to do with how healthy they are. And once a woman gets healthier, they feel better. They get on this kind of feedback loop of wanting to up-level other parts of their body. So ultimately, the direction with the company, I hope, is going to kind of go into wellness, longevity, everything that has to do with really optimizing the body eventually.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Can men use this? Can I
They
use this?
can, yes.
Okay, give me my routine here. What should I be using?
Yeah, so
That's
it's
in front of
marketed
me.
towards women, but I have a lot of men that are obsessed and also that have joined our membership for our clinic.
Yeah, I have a friend that started a menopause cream.
Yeah.
And I was like, can I use this? And she's like, it's actually great for men.
Really? Does it have estrogen or hormones in it?
It's got the peptides, and I'll send it to you. I'll send you the link.
Okay.
But anyway, some people find that funny that I use like menopause cream, but I'm like, look, I don't know. She told me I could use it. She's the pro. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
But this stuff, what?
so we actually have peptide-infused skincare. That's what these copper packaging are.
Okay, so that's this guy.
Yeah, so basically every single
Night
microbiome, skin microbiome is diverse. So it's not like a one size fits all, but really to be most accurate, you would want to do a microbiome test. So a test that you send in, and you can do this through a company. It tells you basically a profile of your skin.
Okay.
And then there's certain cleansers you would want to use, a toner. We have a great copper peptide toner. Copper peptide is amazing for anti-aging. So you spray that after you clean your skin. And then we have serums and lotions and oils that you apply after. And then detoxification masks. So there's a whole routine. It just depends how long you want to spend on your skin. But that's the topicals.
Where do you want to take this company? Ultimately, like what's the roadmap look like for you guys?
So I'm really excited because we just took on one of the lead doctors that was pivotal at building Hims and Hers, which is now, I believe, a $2 billion company.
Yeah.
Roe is their competitor. I think they're valued at $6 billion. So the goal is really to continue to bridge the gap between beauty and telehealth and anti-aging, essentially. And together, that's like a $5.3 trillion market, you know? So our goal is really to build this out as the wellness company, and these topicals have been a great start, but we just launched our virtual clinic, so we're really growing our membership subscription model with that.
Okay.
And my goal is to help 1 million women as soon as possible as our first milestone with our clinic and our topicals, and I think we've done just over 500,000 so far.
So give me a window into like a session. So if I'm looking for the virtual clinic, what am I asking? What do most people ask? Is it just about a product, or is it like a treatment they're seeking? Give me a window into.
So I'll give you some case studies.
Yeah.
So say you're a woman that's about 38 and she's starting to really feel the effects of perimenopause. You mentioned menopause. A lot of our consumers are perimenopause or just going into menopause. So that's right before or going into, and that's when you see the biggest shifts in your skin and your body. So a woman who's having mood shifts, who's gaining a little bit of extra visceral fat, so that layer of fat around the skin, the things she was doing at the gym before just is not working. She's eating clean, she's working out, but nothing is really getting off that extra weight, and she's just is noticing it. She's starting to break out or get dark spots or just get some dryness to her skin. So things are starting to slowly kind of unravel for her. She's tried everything, seen all the doctors, but she just doesn't know where to go, and she's feeling kind of hopeless. She would come to Koa Life, so the Koa Life Clinic, and sign up for a monthly membership. And under that membership, you're able to consult monthly with our doctor for 30 minutes and follow-up calls. We do all the blood tests, the GI tests, the microbiome tests, anything that's appropriate for you to identify the markers of where the issue is coming from. And then the doctor will analyze the results with you, and they'll put together what I call a personalized blueprint for your health journey. So be it skin or be it body. Some women want to work on their skin, so we would develop typically either HRT program, so hormone replacement therapy, or a peptide program that will heal the gut or heal the skin. And then a woman that comes to us for weight loss, we work a lot with GLP-1s, so we do microdoses of tirzepatide, partnered with some different peptides like sermorelin and NAD+ that optimize your energy, so help your body produce more energy to heal and to lose weight, and then also build muscle with things like sermorelin. So that would be a typical case for us. It's like we're healing the skin, we're healing the body, we're helping you lose weight. We're basically giving you sort of like a biological makeover.
Yeah. Any desire to get into food after that? Like it feels like a natural, because once you know what's going on, then it's like, what are you inputting into the system?
For sure. Yeah, so we have nutritionists, functional medicine doctors, hormone doctors all on our team. Dr. Carr, who's our lead doctor, who I mentioned was at Hims and Hers, has put together this phenomenal team of all female doctors to help females, and within it are nutritionists, because food can be medicine or food can be poison. It just depends how you use it.
Yeah. And how much is the service?
It's $299 a month, and then obviously the medications are additional, the testing's additional.
It's really interesting to think about this in the context of like when let's go back to fashion for a second, 2007, and where the world is today, like the virtual clinics and things. It's an interesting evolution of where life is now, just in terms of education too. Like the consumer's severely more educated now than we all were 10 years ago.
Yeah, we're giving the power back to the people. Like I always say, kind of a woman becomes a CEO of her own health, and so she's able to be empowered with knowledge, know how to heal your body. It's so interesting because we're such a tech forward nation, but if you look at even primitive tribes, they have the knowledge of how to use different herbs and roots and berries from nature to heal their own bodies. They don't need medicines. They use what God has given them as medicine.
Yeah.
But us, we have all the tools and access to abundance, and we still don't know how to heal our own bodies. It's crazy to think.
It is crazy. So I'll make this joke sometimes, and it's not meant to be rude to people, but it's like some people. I grew up in Peru, and so in Peru, or I was born in Peru, and so in Peru, I would say maybe like 10 years ago to people, I'm like, yeah, there's this like new technology that's starting to enter Peru called like depression and anxiety. And they're like, why would you say it like that? And I'm like, cause we don't have that. Like, it's not that we have it, but it's different.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's treated differently than a pill. You know what I mean? Like when I moved, I remember the biggest thing is like when I started dating American women, and I would see like their medicine cabinets, and I was like, what is that? And they're like, oh yeah, this is what we take every morning. And it blew me away. I'm like, that what? I don't know. It was weird to me. Where it's like you see the cultural differences between worlds.
They feel sick and tired. It's like you're poisoning your liver, essentially, in your body.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel you. One of the reasons that I started doing ceremonies 20 years ago was to treat depression and as therapy. And it's like we can use this plant that is blessed from a living tree, a living root, to heal our bodies and have this like out of body experience with God and really just feel into our own bodies. It basically gives you messages to this is what's going on inside my body so that you can be in control and fix it yourself. So I totally understand. And in Peru, that's one of the modalities they use as well.
Yeah. If you're sick, some lady comes over and does crazy things to you.
Yeah. It's really not that crazy though if you think
No, but in the
about
moment, you're like an 8-year-old kid. You're like, what is happening?
But what seems crazy is putting poisonous substances into our body to heal when really they're killing us slowly. That seems crazy.
So dark, but so
that's
true.
one of the things I love. One of the reasons why I love working with peptides is we produce peptides naturally in our body, so they're really supportive to these different pathways like anti-aging pathways, inflammation pathways. They help to heal, produce energy, heal our mitochondria. So they're super supportive of our natural bodily systems instead of fighting against them or breaking them down.
What are the things you're focused on in 2025, maybe just personally?
Personally?
Yeah, now that it's like a new year. You know?
Yeah. Well, I think my goals have shifted from before the fire to after the fire. One of the goals was really rooting down here in Los Angeles, but who knows if that's going to be the call anymore. I'm kind of bi-coastal between Miami and here.
Okay.
I have sort of what I call family in Miami, this amazing group of people that I love. So I'll probably spend more time there. But again, just slowing down a little bit and creating space so that I can be much more intentional. One of the things I always tell people when they ask me, should I start my own company and become an entrepreneur? And that's such a loaded question, you know, because there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. And I always tell them, you know, the advice I give you if you're going to start it as an entrepreneur is that distinction, that balance between your personal life and your work life is so intertwined and so entangled that to really work on your work life, you have to first get you right and work on you, because I feel like that statement that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything is so, so true. Yeah. And if you have an organized personal life and you create space and you're thoughtful and you have intention and all of that in your personal life, 99% of the time that's going to transcend over to your work life and you're going to be organized and things are going to be running smoothly and buttoned up. So I think for me, my biggest thing is in my personal life, I just want to create a little bit more space for myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always think entrepreneurship is like a journey to finding yourself. I think as like an independent human, you can protect yourself to some extent from the world. You can really live in a bubble to some extent. Obviously, like the wildfire, things can happen, but for the most part you can. But once you open yourself up to like business and market forces, it's a whole, now you're open to things that are completely out of your control, and your body has a way of, you have to figure that out in real time, you know. And I think it's why people cold plunge now too. It's like they're seeking some sort of struggle or something. That's a choice.
You know, it's interesting you say that, because I've been thinking a lot about those things, and a lot of people also will write us on Instagram. My twin sister and I, we have a twin sort of like entrepreneurial influencer account where we give health advice and entrepreneurial advice. And in their 30s or 40s and they want to make a shift in their life and they're like, is it too late? Can I do it? And talking about kind of that identity shift or evolution as a person and that coming out in entrepreneurship, I'm always saying to them, it's never too late to start over, to start fresh, to pivot in your career. I'm 41 and I've done that so many times, and every time it becomes more aligned and more fulfilling. And if you're going with authenticity, it's going to be successful. It's going to bring you joy. But yeah, like living in LA right now, we know that tomorrow isn't guaranteed. The madness with COVID, with the fires, it's like we don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. So I think paving your own path and not going the way that society puts pressure on you always to, and sticking to the norm and doing it your own way and taking those risks, like there's big reward that comes with that and fulfillment. So I always encourage people to do that.
Yeah. How do you deal when things hit the fan for you, when it's just everything is going wrong? How do you recenter?
I mean, there's definitely a lot of those moments.
There's a lot of those,
There's a lot of those moments. I have this magical skill of being so good under pressure and creating magic under pressure. It's actually, I love it, but I hate it because if I have a lot of time and I can let things just roll out slowly, the momentum doesn't happen as quickly for me. But when there's pressure or like the ship is sinking, I do my best work.
That's me too.
I do my best work. And it's like, can I just be a normal person that works, well under any conditions? I do, but like I just make the best work happen under pressure. Yeah. And I think some people are creative problem solvers. And I have developed that skill living in sort of, I would say, a chaotic world my entire life. And I also think sports teaches you how to be good under pressure. So that was a huge skill set that I adopted from that.
I was talking to my therapist about this exact thing, and he says it stems from being a highly anxious person. And I was like, oh no. I was like, what do you mean? Yeah. Yeah. And he was saying it's almost like the championship gene that some of the great athletes have. He's like, you're just so highly anxious that you need something to take it away, and then you experience extreme focus when everything is going, and a lot of people don't have that. Yeah.
Are you good at multitasking, or do you feel like you zone in?
This is interesting. So in 2025, I'm starting to not multitask anymore. I've like made this decision to just extreme focus on the one thing in front of me. I'll say the results are pretty good. Yeah. Yeah. And so I've tried, this is the first time ever. If you had asked me this question 3 weeks ago, I would have said, I'm so good at multitasking. Yeah. So I don't know. We're in process of seeing how that goes.
Because coming back to being laser focused and what athletes do really well in that like flow zone, for me, I'm not good at multitasking. I don't like to admit when I'm not good at things, but I know that I'm driving and multitasking, I'm not good at them. But I'm really good at being laser focused. And I think that's when the pressure aspect comes down, is like in the heat of the moment, can you focus and do it and get in flow and get it done? And I find a lot of similar entrepreneurs or athletes have that skill set too. They can't do a million things, but they can do one thing amazing.
Well, thanks for coming on the pod.
Yeah.
Where can people find you and support your company?
Yeah, so thatkoalife.com houses all of our products and our virtual membership. We'll offer a discount, I'm sure, to your listeners. Sure. Yeah, so we can do a month free. It's member 100. Okay. And it's a month free to consult with our doctors, do testing, all the good stuff, really kickstart their health journey. And then on Instagram, it's That Koa Life as well. And then my personal Instagram is NAVEN Twins, NAVEN Twins. And you can also see my twin sister there too. We share the account.
Nice. Lex, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, share with your friends, your family, or anyone you might think might benefit from the conversation we've had today. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. We'd greatly appreciate it. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more people who can benefit from our discussions. The best way to stay connected with us and get the latest updates on future episodes is through our social media channels. You can find us at Startup Storefront. We'll be back next Tuesday with another great episode. See you then.